He is stronger than Hulk and smarter than Reed Richards. He is Adam Brashear, the Blue Marvel, and right here is the complete origin of his story and how he saved the world multiple times. The story starts with an attack in New York City by an unidentified and immensely powerful supervillain. As the news reporter focuses on the center of the attacked site and S.H.I.E.L.D. orders the evacuation of Manhattan, the Avengers seem to be losing their hold on this powerful being. They aren't having much success. Sentry, Ares, Iron Man, She-Hulk, Ms. Marvel, Yellow Jacket, and Black Widow combined still can't stop him. "You Avengers are wasting my time," says the supervillain, warning the Avengers about their limited moments left in trying to save countless lives. He teases the heroes, calling them blind enough not to see the gift he's about to give mankind, a gift disguised in mass destruction. Despite his terrifying power, Ares, being one of the mightiest heroes and a Greek god himself, reminds him that he is the embodiment of power and will show him the way to paradise, even if he's no god. When Iron Man confronts the villain, he declares that he wants to give humankind what it needs most desperately: salvation. "You are insane," Iron Man replies. The villain mentions that without Blue Marvel, no one can stop him, not even all the Avengers combined, if they tried. Then, suddenly, the villain disappears into dust. None of the Avengers have a clue who he was or what his objective might be. They need to find out before he comes back. Though he single-handedly overpowered all the Avengers, Sentry admits, "I have never seen anyone so powerful." But the real question remains: who is Blue Marvel? What's his story? And what connection does he have with this mysterious villain? The story then takes us back to June 4th, 1962, where we see Blue Marvel fighting the same supervillain, one he actually calls Anti-Man. Blue Marvel tells him he can't let him do this. "It's the only way they'll understand, believe me," replies Anti-Man. Blue Marvel begs him to stop and not hurt innocent people, but Anti-Man continues the destruction, blaming humanity for being selfish and careless. He claims this will make them care. Blue Marvel believes Anti-Man is sick and must be stopped. The world, he says, should not be forced to change through terror. It has to happen naturally. That's what heroes do. As their fight continues, Blue Marvel gives his final warning to Connor, known as Anti-Man, telling him he will now face the consequences for everything he's done, and whatever happens next, he's brought it upon himself. They crash down with a building as the people around panic, praying for Blue Marvel's safety. But soon, Blue Marvel rises, beaten yet victorious, standing tall over the defeated Anti-Man lying on the ground. Soon after these events, a meeting is held in the Pentagon's War Room. A group of senators discuss Project Wide Awake with President John F. Kennedy. Mr. Secretary brings up Blue Marvel and his remarkable efforts in saving countless lives from destruction. He also mentions that during the last fight with Anti-Man, Blue Marvel's torn mask revealed his identity. His name is Adam Bernard Brashear. He won multiple medals in Korea, graduated magna cum laude from Cornell in 1954, and is an electrical engineer with a PhD in theoretical physics. Definitely not your average man. Everyone in the room is stunned by his achievements. When asked about his powers, Mr. Secretary elaborates, "Blue Marvel has been to outer space, helped with a meteor the size of Arkansas, no exaggeration, lifted the Enterprise out of the water and flew it home when it was damaged, and even saved the world from a hydrogen bomb incident. When the Polaris aboard the Nautilus malfunctioned, he flew it into the air and out of harm's way just before it exploded in his hands over the Atlantic." The room grows tense. They worry about the current social climate. A colored man with that kind of power could be a problem they might not be able to control. Things could spiral out of hand quickly. The scene shifts outside, where bodyguards wait for Adam Brashear, telling him, "Mr. President is waiting for you." A nervous Adam asks how long the meeting will take, but one bodyguard calms him, saying he's not the one who should be nervous right now. Adam recalls his past, remembering the Korean War days with the Marine Corps, when his senior officer, Connor, once told him that he wasn't Captain America. It was okay to be nervous. Suddenly, their car was attacked, and Adam saved Connor from enemy fire. He earned 2 silver stars for bravery, yet even then his abilities were doubted. General Kreutz once said, "Every Alabama porch monkey can be taught to point and shoot." On his way to meet the president, Brashear sees protests against black people outside, which brings back memories of the times his teammates mocked him for his color during the war. Back in the war room, Senator Robert Kelly joins the heated discussion, arguing with the president. He claims that allowing a superpowered black man to exist publicly will upset the entire balance of power. Agreeing with him, Bobby Kennedy urges the president to see the big picture. He reminds him that the administration is already struggling to push civil rights through Congress. It's not guaranteed. If the country learns that there's a superpowered black man out there moving mountains, people will be terrified. "We're at war with communists, not Negroes," Bobby says. He adds that just last week, Blue Marvel saved 16 children from a burning orphanage, and white citizens threw rocks and bottles at him, hurling slurs that would make a Klansman blush, and that was up north. If a cop shoots him and the bullet ricochets hitting an old woman, they'll still blame Blue Marvel. Even many black people don't like him. They expect him to be some kind of messiah to destroy all white people. When he refused to lead them into a race war, they burned their own neighborhoods in protest. Blue Marvel's story becomes even more tragic here. He's trapped between 2 worlds. One where the white government fears him because of his power, thinking he might overthrow them at any moment, and the other where his own people want him to lead them into violent revolution. But Blue Marvel refuses both paths, standing firmly against hate and war, no matter which side it comes from. Mr. President is caught between 2 worlds. He says all Blue Marvel has ever done for this country is save it from disasters and despots, yet he can't even eat a ham sandwich in one of the cafeterias in his own hometown. Now, after arriving at the White House and sitting with the president in his office, Adam and the president begin by chatting about football. The president recalls the time when Adam defeated his Crimson team back in 1953. But then he gets to the point. The president tells Adam that the world is afraid of him, that people have visions of a vengeful, superpowered Negro taking over the planet. Adam Brashear grows angry and reaffirms to the president that he loves his country. He tells him he's an American through and through, showing his true patriotism. The president becomes more transparent, explaining that people don't want to acknowledge Adam's achievements because they're afraid of him. They simply don't understand him. He says only time can educate people, but time is not on their side right now. When Brashear asks the president to be direct and say what he really means, the president finally tells him to step down from his duties as Blue Marvel, effective immediately. The government can't allow him to continue operating. When Adam asks how long, the president presents him with the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the highest honor that can be given to a civilian for their undying humanitarian efforts, and says, "This is the best I can do for you. A car will take you back home," he adds. "No, thank you, sir. I will walk," replies Brashear. Back to the present, inside the Baxter Building, headquarters of the Fantastic Four. Iron Man is discussing the post-fight situation with Dr. Reed Richards and Dr. Hank Pym, 2 of the smartest minds on Earth. Despite all their analysis, they found nothing that could identify the Anti-Man. Reed recalls that during the battle, the villain mentioned someone named Blue Marvel. Hank immediately recognizes the name from the early 60s. He was once a famous hero. Rumors claimed he was killed in action. Reed tells Tony that he's been conducting EM scans of the battle site. He noticed the villain seemed to weaken before disappearing. According to Reed's instruments, the being is composed of antimatter, and he believes the villain was actually using antimatter as fuel. Somehow, he was burning through his own energy and began losing integrity. But the theory is still uncertain. Iron Man thinks that if they can locate his power source, they can seal it off before he creates more destruction, if he ever returns. At S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters, Stark scans Blue Marvel's data through multiple agencies, but can't access a restricted protocol file. Even S.H.I.E.L.D. lacks clearance for it. Frustrated, he confronts Dugan, who tells him to drop it. Dugan admits that S.H.I.E.L.D. refused to take part in the government's cover-up, calling Blue Marvel the greatest hero of the early 60s. Curious, Tony presses for the truth. Dugan explains that it was a different era. politics and racism made people uneasy about a powerful black superhero. When Stark asks why nothing was ever done to clear his name, Dugan directs him to Kreutz, a former Joint Chiefs member, warning Tony that he won't like what he finds. Tony Stark goes to meet the old man, Kreutz, looking for answers. Kreutz starts explaining about Blue Marvel and how he saved the world from Anti-Man. He regrets some of his actions and the way he used to think about colored people, but still insists that the Brashear boy was dangerous. He emphasizes how afraid everyone was of his powers, what he was capable of, especially in the middle of alien threats, the Russians, communism, and civil rights tensions. Tony confronts him, calling out his failures and the injustice he helped create, but Kreutz stands firm, saying what they did was necessary in its own way. He still believes allowing Blue Marvel to operate could have had a catastrophic impact on the world. What if Brashear had turned against the government? He argues. Flashing back to 1962, Kreutz recalls another crucial discussion. Inside the Pentagon's war room, a man named Mr. Trask speculates that there might be more superhumans like Blue Marvel emerging across the world, heroes from different nations and races, because of a micro-evolutionary change taking place within the human genome. He warns that these individuals could develop with the mindset of their societies and might destabilize the entire planet. They could even reshape the Cold War or create a completely new kind of global conflict, one where communism would become the least of their worries. When the president asks for a solution, Mr. Trask advises, "Be vigilant. Wise awake." Back in the present, Tony Stark realizes that this conversation was the birth of Project Wide Awake, a whisper in the dark by men terrified of what they couldn't understand. A policy born out of fear and regression. Tony grows furious, accusing Kreutz of throwing Blue Marvel away just for the comfort of his own peace, just because of his skin color. Kreutz yells back, calling Tony a hypocrite liberal and defending his choices, saying sacrifices must be made to keep the world safe. "Someone, somewhere has to pay the piper when the bill comes due," he shouts. Kreutz continues, explaining that Blue Marvel was summoned for one last mission, to conclude his chapter. The flashback plays out in outer space. A powerful being beyond belief was approaching Earth, and it wasn't coming to play Parcheesi. Blue Marvel was called in as the welcome wagon. In the best-case scenario, they hoped to kill two birds with one stone. It was supposed to be a mission of peace, but the answer came in the form of a devastating punch from that creature. Blue Marvel's energy output began to rise rapidly, and then he was never seen again. But one thing was certain. He took the alien down with him. The discussion between Tony and Kreutz continues. Tony shames him for what they did, saying Blue Marvel was their only hope against Anti-Man. The old man hands Tony a file, saying it made Blue Marvel's disappearance more believable in case anyone ever dug too deep. Tony opens the file, and what he sees leaves him completely shocked. Tony then goes to Blue Marvel's wife, asking her to come in and talk about her husband. After she denies knowing what he's referring to, Tony calls her Miss Fraser, which immediately shocks her. Then again, Tony says her full name, Marlene Fraser, and tells her that he knows the secret of Blue Marvel. He says he has read her and her husband's files and assures her that her secret is safe with him. He then requests her, saying, "The world needs Blue Marvel." The story now moves to Blue Marvel, Professor Adam Brashear, who is currently teaching physics at the University of Maryland. As the class ends, he receives a call from his wife, who sounds panicked after her confrontation with Tony Stark. She asks him to come home immediately. We then flash back to the Pentagon in 1962, right after the government forced Blue Marvel to retire from hero work. The government had hired an agent from military intelligence named Marlene Fraser from Southwest Point, Mississippi, to spy on Adam Brashear. Yes, the same woman who is now his wife. She was given a dangerous lifelong assignment, to become his wife and secretly work for military intelligence throughout her life. A mission that required absolute patriotism and complete secrecy. Returning to the present, right after her meeting with Tony Stark and realizing that her secret is now exposed, Ms. Fraser tells Adam the truth. shocking him completely. Learning that the woman he trusted the most in his entire life was actually a spy for the US military crushes him. The woman he thought was his loving wife turns out to have been sent to watch him. Their entire marriage and love now stand under doubt. Ms. Fraser tries to justify herself, explaining that at first she was only doing her job, but over time she developed genuine love and empathy for Adam. She tells him she truly loves him now and that her love was never fake. It's hard for her too, she says, to live a lie with the man she actually loves so deeply. She admits she has no regrets about their life or their children and begs Adam not to take that away from her. Devastated by the truth, Adam grows furious, telling her that above anyone else, despite all the struggles he faced as both a man and a hero, she was the one person he could always depend on. He asks her for her real name and then flies away into space. Sitting on the moon, Adam finds the medal that President John F. Kennedy once gave him, the Medal of Freedom. He throws it away with such force that it almost splits the moon in half. As he sits in silence, he meets a mysterious cosmic being, the Watcher. The Watcher records the events of the universe as they unfold, but is forbidden to interfere or aid anyone. He tells Blue Marvel that throughout history, whether human, alien, or cosmic being, the heart remains the most wicked thing of all. It craves power, superiority, and conflict. He tells Adam that so much of existence revolves around appearance, bloodline, and status, who's superior and who's inferior. But in the end, everyone turns to dust. He then shares a story about the Cree civilization, explaining that they once built these ruins beneath them millennia ago and suffered the same fate. Blue skins versus pink skins, brother against brother. The same hate, the same division, all fools and all doomed. The Watcher urges Adam not to let that happen again to Earth, calling it a precious world. "We deserve it," replies Blue Marvel bitterly, filled with resentment toward humanity, thinking maybe Connor was right. Suddenly, an alien invasion fleet appears in front of them, heading straight toward Earth. The army looks massive, powerful enough to annihilate the entire planet. Adam realizes the invading force must be from the same race as the scout he once defeated. Without hesitation, Blue Marvel launches into battle and destroys the entire force, single-handedly. Afterward, the story returns to the present discussion between Blue Marvel and the Watcher. Reading Adam's thoughts, the Watcher realizes he plans to return to Earth to face Anti-Man once more. Blue Marvel, filled with determination and purpose, flies back toward the planet. Down on Earth, Anti-Man rises again from beneath the Sahara Desert, stronger than ever. Analyzing the situation, Iron Man talks with Reed Richards, urging him not to take action yet since they aren't fully prepared to face the threat. Reed reports that antimatter storms are brewing in the atmosphere. For now, their readings show minimal danger, but he warns that things will only get worse. "One thing at a time, Reed." "I'll call you," replies Iron Man anxiously. Then, to his shock, he looks up and sees Blue Marvel standing right before him. "Director Stark, I hear you wanted to see me." We flash back again to 1953 at the Naval Amphibious Base in North Carolina. Back then, Adam Brashear served in the Marine Corps. During a brawl, Connor defended Adam by beating up their teammates who had bullied him. Adam stopped the fight, reminding Connor that they were all on the same side. Back in the present, Adam meets with the Avengers to discuss Connor, now known as Anti-Man, revealing that he was once his best friend. Iron Man apologizes for what the White House did to Adam, but Adam rejects his sympathy, sarcastically reminding them how they destroyed his family. After Anti-Man easily overpowered the Avengers in their last encounter, Dr. Reed Richards admits it was a miracle they survived. Adam, unfazed, notes that Reed probably detected elevated gamma radiation where Anti-Man last appeared, which means the phenomenon is still active. Reed elaborates that Connor is becoming a living negation link, an antimatter wormhole bridging the negative zone with their universe. Drawing energy from the event horizon where both dimensions meet, Anti-Man now has enough power to annihilate the entire planet. Adam explains how it all began. As a scientist developing an antimatter energy source, he once survived a lab explosion that turned him into Blue Marvel. His friend Connor, who was from Army intelligence, was also caught in that explosion, reborn but unstable, as Anti-Man. Connor's mind expanded beyond human limits, twisting his sense of purpose until he wanted to force the world into a violent utopia. Iron Man, desperate, asks Adam for help. Blue Marvel agrees, warning that laws exist for a reason, to prevent chaos. Since his powers come from the same source as Anti-Man's, he's the only one capable of stopping him. Iron Man offers to revoke the old executive order that stripped Adam of his freedom, but Blue Marvel refuses to focus on politics. He says he has personal matters to settle first. After he leaves, Reed, Hank, and Tony quietly reflect. Reed wonders aloud why people glorify the Avengers and the Fantastic Four, yet hate the X-Men, who fight just as selflessly. He laments that mutants are judged only by birth and DNA, suffering simply for existing. Flying across the Atlantic Ocean near the Marine Trench, Brashear feels embarrassed about his behavior with Tony, Reed, and Hank. Blue Marvel arrives at a building with an M on it, his old base. It's the first time he's been here since his retirement. "It's good to be home," says Blue Marvel. He meets Namor, Adam Brashear's old friend, who now seems a little different. They recall their old memories. In response to Namor's question, Brashear tells him he's here because his old enemy is back, and he's willing to help the Avengers. But Namor doesn't like the idea, reminding him how he's been manipulated in the past. Not happy with his old decisions, Namor recalls his battles alongside the Red Tails, pilots who faced constant ridicule and struggle from both comrades and superiors. Accused of being stupid and inferior, they still followed orders and never turned their backs when called to action. "They were some of the bravest Americans I ever met," Namor says. His point is that even if the price is high, no matter the odds, there's always a bigger picture to consider, even if it's only to inspire others. Brashear accuses Namor of being naive and reminds him that power cannot be abused. He says one cannot condemn an entire race for the actions of a foolish few. "Now who is being naive?" says Namor sarcastically. Namor replies, "A foolish few left unchecked can become an evil many." 11 million died horribly, he says, recalling the German genocide. How many lives might have been saved had good men intervened earlier to stop that atrocity? Brashear insists this is different. Namor is asking him to make enemies of people who are his friends, people who loved him regardless of his skin. Brashear is speechless, shocked by what Namor is suggesting. Namor gives him an example, Captain America, his dearest and oldest friend, who is as much kin to him as a brother. But where Atlantis is concerned, Namor explains, he would lay waste to the entire surface to protect his people. He's trying to make Brashear understand the complexities of justice, that if anyone truly wants change, they must be ready to make enemies. In outer space, Blue Marvel, wearing his blue flash suit and holding his helmet, is suddenly punched by Connor, the Anti-Man. As they face off, Brashear realizes Connor is alive and tries to remind him of their past. The lab incident, his coma and recovery. Shocked to learn he was in a coma for a month, Connor discovers their molecular structures are still unstable. Back in the fight, Connor says he didn't die but evolved beyond humanity, forgiving Brashear and calling it a blessing. Brashear insists he's grateful that his best friend survived and recalls the bond their families once shared. But Connor, still bitter, attacks again, blaming Brashear for ruining everything. Disappointed, Blue Marvel calls Connor a hate-monger, accusing him of forcing his views on others. Connor denies that people have improved, believing humanity still hates and divides. Calling Brashear weak for having faith in mankind, he claims only a catastrophic event can unite them. Brashear disagrees, saying Connor needs help and vows to stop him again. "Not this time," Connor replies, striking Adam down before heading toward Earth. As he approaches Earth, Anti-Man remembers his mission. He believes the world should die because mankind is the reason behind all the worst problems, genocides, and murders in history. Watching the news, The Avengers and Blue Marvel prepare to stop him. Blue Marvel believes he can defeat him since their powers share the same antimatter source. If he synchronizes and releases a strong enough plasma charge, it could cause Anti-Man to implode. Reed warns it's too dangerous, but Blue Marvel insists on containing the blast in space. Refusing to let him risk himself, the Avengers try to stop him, but he flies off. They confront him, and a fight breaks out. The Sentry joins in, telling Blue Marvel he too once let fear and pride control him. But Blue Marvel, tired of being treated as invisible, refuses to back down, while Sentry vows not to let his pride endanger the planet. Blue Marvel's patience and tolerance have reached their limit, and he sends Sentry flying into orbit with one punch. Iron Man asks him to stop, warning that it's too risky. His plan could destroy the whole Earth if it doesn't work. But the antimatter storms are getting worse as the negative zone aperture grows wider, and now there's no choice left for Blue Marvel. Sentry returns, saying he's had enough, and attacks Blue Marvel, knocking him unconscious. Soon, a strange light appears in the sky, a massive hole just like Reed warned about. The negative zone is spilling into their universe. We could be looking at the end of the world as we know it. Back in the Baxter building, Reed constructs a negative gamma cannon, and with Tony Stark's help, they integrate one into his suit. This could be their best chance to defeat Anti-Man. Sue Storm then brings Mr. Brashear's wife to see him. Seeing Adam lying in stasis makes her emotional, and she blames herself for betraying him. Sue Storm consoles her, assuring Reed will find a way. He always does. The sky above Midtown turns darker as the Anti-Man storm becomes worse than ever. Anti-Man is here now. Sue Storm goes to check on the children, leaving Mrs. Brashear alone with Adam while the Avengers rush downtown to save the world. Adam's wife speaks to him with deep emotion, and her words stir something inside him. He wakes up. Blue Marvel knows he has to join the Avengers. He asks his wife to leave, telling her she shouldn't be here. They've both faced the same struggles, living in hiding, concealing who they are. Blue Marvel hid his identity to protect people who might fear him, while Mrs. Brashear hid hers to fulfill her duty, eventually falling in love with Adam. But now, Blue Marvel realizes that he could have inspired others instead of fading into the shadows. What kind of hero is he if he allows himself to be manipulated? Candace tries to stop him, begging him to run away somewhere safe, but he tells her this can't end unless Connor is stopped. "Let the Avengers handle it," Candace pleads. But Blue Marvel promises he'll come back to her, then flies off to face Connor. On the battlefield, the Avengers struggle to regroup in front of Connor while also saving civilians. Connor is sick of these so-called heroes. Then, Blue Marvel arrives and launches a powerful attack on him, shouting for the Avengers to trust him. Otherwise, he'll face Connor alone. While Anti-Man is down, Blue Marvel quickly forms a plan. He orders Yellow Jacket and Wasp to contain the perimeter and protect civilians, Iron Man and Ms. Marvel to fly around Anti-Man in clockwise and counterclockwise patterns and hit him with long-range, high-energy plasma bursts. She-Hulk, Wonder Man, and Ares take low ground positions just beneath Anti-Man to hit him with everything they've got, draining as much of his energy as possible. Reed announces that he's creating a particle accelerator, but Adam warns it won't be effective unless executed perfectly. He asks Sentry to stay with him. Everyone waits for Blue Marvel's signal. After giving the sign to She-Hulk, Ares, and Wonder Man, Adam orders them to get out. Brashear tries to sync his energy with Connor's to disperse it. Suddenly, out of nowhere, Candace appears and gets caught between the energy. She burns in the blast, using her final words to tell Adam to show everyone who he truly is. "Enough!" says Blue Marvel. He's had enough of Connor, enough of trying to see his side, enough of trying to understand him because of their friendship and what they went through. Connor is just like the people he claims to hate. A man so full of contempt and arrogance that he mistakes kindness for weakness. Blue Marvel stands firm, justifying his choice to side with humanity. He believes in seeing the good people can become, not the bad they might be. There will always be people worth saving. Taking Connor out into orbit, he tells him his twisted view of the world has to end. In a final surge of energy, synced with Connor's, Blue Marvel releases his power. Goodbye, Connor. I don't hate you. I pity you and what you've done. I forgive you. A bright light flashes across the sky. Connor is gone. The world is saved. 1 week later, in a quiet graveyard, Stark meets Adam. He apologizes for his loss and regrets not being able to save his wife. Adam tells him about her bravery, how she once took an assignment to spy on him, but ended up marrying him despite the world frowning upon who he was. That kind of strength is rare, he says. Stark asks him to join the Avengers, but Blue Marvel explains that he has some things to take care of before joining the modern heroes. Later, sitting at home, Adam receives a parcel, a letter from his wife filled with loving words. Inside is a new suit for Blue Marvel, along with her final message: "You will always be my hero."